Sure. Here's a 500-word inspirational story based on the topic. 100-year-old doctor secrets. I eat top 3 vitamins to conquer aging. Styled like a motivational life story with a personal, engaging tone. The longevity of Dr. Solomon Hart. At 100 years old, Dr. Solomon Hart still started his mornings before the sun rose. His hands, though wrinkled, remained steady. His voice, though deepened by age, carried the authority of a man who had spent a lifetime healing others. A retired physician, Dr. Hart had once run one of the busiest clinics in Chicago, but now he was famous for something else entirely, his astonishing vitality. Reporters often asked him, "What's your secret?" expecting tales of rare herbs, cold plunges, or costly supplements. But Dr. Hart always smiled and said, "It's simple. 3 vitamins. Every day. Faithfully. For 50 years." He'd go on to explain, vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin B12, his holy trinity. Vitamin D, he'd say, holding up a small amber bottle, keeps your bones strong and your mood brighter. Most people miss out on sunlight. I never did, but I still took my D every morning. Then he'd point to the oranges on his kitchen table. Vitamin C isn't just for colds, it's your body's repairman. It fights off the rust that time brings, keeps your immune system humming and your skin resilient. Finally, he'd hold up a tiny red capsule. Vitamin B12. This one's big, especially as you age. It keeps your brain sharp and your nerves firing like they should. A deficiency here, and you start slipping. I never slipped. But Dr. Hart didn't just rely on pills. The vitamins, he explained, were part of a broader philosophy. Aging isn't the enemy. Inactivity is. Apathy is. Neglect is. He gardened every week, walked a mile every morning, read medical journals not because he needed to, but because curiosity was still his favorite exercise. He cooked all his meals from scratch, simple, nourishing, and colorful. If your plate looks like a garden, he said, you're doing something right. Visitors to his modest home often left changed, not because of what he did, but because of who he had become. A living reminder that age is not the end of life, but simply another stage to master. On his 100th birthday, surrounded by family, former patients, and neighbors, Dr. Hart made a toast. "We chase youth like it's a finish line," he said, lifting his glass of sparkling water. "But the truth is, it's the start of the race. You want to live long? Eat smart, move daily, think deeply, laugh loudly, and take your vitamins." The crowd laughed and cheered. Cameras flashed, but Dr. Hart didn't seem interested in the attention. He just stood quietly for a moment, looking out the window at the garden he'd planted decades ago, now blooming with bright, untamed life. Because in the end, Dr. Hart's secret wasn't just the vitamins. It was his mindset. To live not by counting the years, but by making every year and every day count. Let me know if you want a short version of this turned into a voice clip. Absolutely. Here's a 500-word continuation of the story, further revealing more about Dr. Hart's lifestyle and the wisdom he's shared throughout the years. Though Dr. Hart credited his 3 daily vitamins for helping him conquer the physical effects of aging, it was clear to everyone who met him that his true power came from something deeper. Health, he often said, is more than what you swallow. It's what you speak, what you feel, and what you believe. And he lived that philosophy fully. His home was a reflection of his energy, bookshelves lined with medical texts, philosophy, and novels. Plants spilled from windowsills. The scent of cinnamon and cloves often drifted from the kitchen, where he brewed his famous herbal tea, a mix of turmeric, ginger, and chamomile. "Good for the joints and better for the soul," he'd say with a wink. But Dr. Hart wasn't just a man of habit. He was a man of community. Every Tuesday afternoon, he hosted an open-door wellness chat at the local community center. People of all ages gathered, not just to hear about vitamins or diet tips, but to absorb the kind of life wisdom only someone with a century of experience could share. Move like a child, think like a student, and love like it's your first time, he'd say, walking around the room, looking each person in the eye. That's the real fountain of youth. He also encouraged emotional health with the same intensity as physical well-being. After losing his wife at 82, Dr. Hart didn't retreat into sorrow. He mourned, yes, but then he honored her by living even more fully. He started painting, joined a local jazz group, and learned the saxophone. He fostered a puppy, despite friends questioning if he had the energy for it, and raised that dog with more joy than discipline. Never stop trying new things. He'd tell the young parents at the center, that's when you start aging, not when your hair turns gray, but when your curiosity dries up. He also had what he called his 5-minute rule. If something troubled him, an argument, a mistake, a moment of regret, he allowed himself 5 minutes to feel it fully. Then he moved on. Stress ages faster than time, he said, tapping his temple. So don't let it rent space up here for free. One of his grandnieces once asked him, Uncle Saul, don't you ever get tired of living this way? Dr. Hart laughed, a rich, deep laugh that made his shoulders bounce. Tired? I'd be exhausted doing nothing. Living this way gives me energy. As his reputation grew, people began writing to him, letters from across the country, asking for advice, sharing stories of transformation inspired by his words. He read every single one, responded to most. In one letter, a woman from Oregon wrote, "You make me believe that growing older doesn't have to mean fading away. Thank you for showing us how to age with power." Dr. Hart placed that letter on his nightstand, not for pride, but as a reminder. The secret to conquering aging wasn't a mystery. It was discipline, love, curiosity, and a little help from vitamins D, C, and B12. Would you like a short portion of this story turned into a voice clip? Just let me know the 2 sentences you'd like to hear. Certainly. Here's a 200-word continuation to wrap the story with a meaningful reflection from Dr. Hart. On a quiet Sunday morning, Dr. Hart sat on his porch, sunlight warming his face as birds chirped in the distance. He held a worn leather journal in his lap, filled with notes, sketches, quotes, and little lessons he had picked up over a lifetime. He flipped to the last page and added one final thought. Longevity is not about avoiding death. It's about embracing life, fully, intentionally, joyfully, until the very last breath. He paused, looking out at his garden, now blooming with spring color, the result of years of patient care. Like his life, it wasn't perfect, but it was thriving. And that, to him, was enough. He often said the best legacy wasn't wealth or titles, it was wisdom, passed on in simple, lasting ways. Through his 3 vitamins, yes, but also through his laughter, his presence, his commitment to moving forward no matter what the calendar said. To those who asked how to conquer aging, he would always smile and say, "You don't conquer it. You cooperate with it, and in doing so, you win." As the breeze carried the scent of jasmine across his porch, Dr. Hart leaned back in his chair and whispered, "Still learning, still grateful, still here." Want a short section of this as audio? Let me know.